Justice Yacoob is a remarkable lifetime record of dedication to the cause of human rights and dignity. And so indeed, I'm sure you'll agree with me, it is a great privilege and an honor to welcome you, Justice.
I have to start by saying that I observe no protocol for two reasons. One, on account of the equality principle of our Constitution, and secondly, because I have only 10 minutes. But I observe protocol only in one respect. I honor and welcome and adore the wife of the President, Gugu. That's all. So, good evening, everybody. It is wonderful to be here. It is superb. It is a wonderful occasion. It is an important occasion, but it is also a very serious occasion. We have looked at the paintings. We have looked at the fine line. And it is important for us to look at the relationship between the fine line and the dynamism of our Constitution. Because at first blush, the idea of the fine line does not sound particularly dynamic. And one might think that pencil drawings are inconsistent with the Constitution. The drawings are not only about people and scenes. They represent different periods of our history. They represent people's participation. They represent commitment, sacrifice, honor, lives being lost, torture. But on the other side, what they represent is dynamic people, and that's where the Constitution comes from. If you look at the paintings as a whole, you will see dynamic people committed to make every sacrifice they possibly could towards the achievement of a particular society. And I'm not going to say the achievement of our democracy, because that is perhaps a different thing. We might well interpret our democracy to mean one person, one vote. But our Constitution goes much beyond that. So these are all people, and the drawings show this from the various moods, who represent and who experienced and who felt strongly for and who cried for their visions and their dreams of the kind of society that South Africa ought to be. And it is a very important occasion for us to see these works of art as a whole. And it is significant to do that because art as a fundamental weapon of change must never be underemphasized. Because it asks questions, it says many things for us, it gets us to change. And it is precisely because of that, Rolf will remember that art in South Africa was not particularly well regarded, particularly when people painted the wrong things and said the wrong things and did the wrong things. And I recall very much works of art which contributed to our democracy in many, many ways, instilling courage. And I remember also going to these little theaters in Durban where there were plays which were put up aimed at demonstrating how bad apartheid was. Little plays at which 30, 40 students were present, at which 10 or 15 people were there, part of the cast, and the security police would come there and stop them. So art is a phenomenal medium, and we need to understand how important that medium is. So if you look at these paintings, at the one level, you might think that they are only about the past. But art is never only about that period which it obviously reflects. And these paintings, in a way, reflect a unity between the past, the present, and the future. And that is because every one of the people depicted had dreams about now, had hopes about now, wanted to think about now, and had hopes and dreams of the future. So in a sense, the art that we talk of unites the past, the future, and the present. I should have said the present second, but I think that the present is most important, and therefore, in a sense, it is the present that unites the past and the future. And ultimately, it is art that unites the past, present, and the future. Politics never can. Constitutions never can. And that is indeed the power of art. So you see a whole range of people, but they represent particular time, they represent particular hopes, they represent particular dreams. And now we must get to the fine line. Everyone would like to say quite easily that we've had 20 years of our democracy, we have achieved a great deal, we have much more to achieve, but actually we can be quite comfortable without asking too many questions. And I would suggest that the fine line is not simply a description of the pencil that was used to make the line, because the fine line itself asks a question. The question it asks is this: we need, in the process of taking stock today, to look at the dreams and hopes of all those who have gone before, to look at our Constitution and determine how far we have gone. And the fine line has meaning because it asks the question, how fine or how not fine is the line between where we should be and where we are? How far have we really gone? And what the fine line does is asks you to confront the question, looking at the hopes and dreams of people and our Constitution, asks all of us to confront the question, how fine is the line? And that is the question we need to look at, and that is the question we need to answer. And I will answer the question like this. I'm not interested, we're not here to talk about politics and the president of the country and the Guptas and the Minister of Finance and so on and so on. I would like to avoid all those things absolutely and completely. What we are here to talk about are our societal values. And ultimately, we have to concede in evaluating the line that our Constitution says that everyone is equal. 95% of the people in our country believe that women are inferior to men. Indeed, 90% of women believe that they are inferior to men. 95% of the people in our country, in their heart, there's lots of trouble about racism in the country, but in my view, we have to accept that 95% of the people in our country believe in their own racial superiority at one level or another. There is no modesty. There's an elite 5%, many of whom may be here, who believe a little bit differently. But that is the point of it. Because Julius Malema said once, and everyone thought, they laughed at him. They said, I go for a white lawyer because I actually think that white lawyers are better. And you know what? There are too many black people. We black people oppress ourselves And many of us think that whites are better. So we need, and what? Our Constitution says everyone is equal. 99% of the people in our country believe that gay and lesbian people live in sin. They genuinely believe it, and therefore there is and always has been a huge disconnect between the values of our Constitution and the values of our society. And we need to change that. And we need to change that by firstly looking into ourselves. I was a great racist and a sexist once. I have had to work very hard to get over in my own heart the problems of racism and sexism. Now, even today, sexism still remains a problem. I have to admit to all of you that I still struggle with women, but we have to admit that so that we can work at it properly and appropriately. So it's very easy to say that you are non-racist and non-sexist, but to be it, we must study the Bill of Rights, understand it, embrace it, question ourselves, and ensure that ultimately, first and foremost, we ourselves live and embrace the values of our Constitution. And that is what the paintings ask us to do, because if we can't do it, we can't ask anyone else to do it. And it is going to be a huge struggle. And the next step is ensuring that we start working with everyone else. Because the Constitution did not create an equal society. The Constitution provided for us a launching pad through which we could go ahead and create an equal society. A launching pad by which we could persuade everyone to respect every other human being as equal. And we have been given a duty by the Constitution to contribute to the process of achieving that society, and a fine line makes an important first step contribution to that process, and in fact fulfills, in my view, a constitutional obligation. So what do we need? We need to persuade ourselves. We need all of us to read the Bill of Rights every day. We need all of us to understand. I actually wonder, how many parliamentarians in our country know the Bill of Rights? How many of us here? And I ask you the question straightforwardly. I read in my own mind clauses of the Bill of Rights virtually every night. How many of you here understand the importance of dignity, equality, and freedom? How many of us here understand the importance of humanity? How many of us here understand that poverty is a scourge and not really the result of people being absolutely lazy? So let us persuade ourselves first about the correctness of the Constitution. Let us read the Bill of Rights. Let us embrace it. Let this work of art enable us to embrace it. And let us start an important social movement through which, as a result of very hard work, day in and day out, we will be able to say in 10 years' time, and that's how long the job is, if in 10 years' time I can stand at some place and say, only 80% of the people are racist, only 80% of the people are sexist, I think we would have done a wonderful job. So let us be inspired. Let us understand that my answer to the question is that the line is not so fine. And let us accept the obligation and the duty to make it the fine line in conformity with the paintings that we will see today. Thank you very much.